All right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're discussing how the recession is impacting on the preparation for Christmas. Now that the festivities are here, a lot of economic activities are buzzing from across the country. And don't forget that, let me tell you that we'll be having correspondents from parts of the country, from Port Harcourt to Abuja to Kaduna to ABIA, just to give us a feel of what people are saying and how they are feeling. How
the recession is affecting people them. Or not. It's possible, you know, there's a high possibility that all this talk about recession may not be affecting some people.
Some people just feel, just like
recession
Edmund was saying. Like Greek to them. How is the word? The people see it as something abstract in the sky somewhere. They just live normally. But the reality is here. Taiwo, it's really good to see you this morning. Let's put it this way: you are there in the business world out there, and in your line of business, this time around, you're certainly going to see a lot of activity because you deal with items that people want for Christmas and so on. But let me say, how are people responding to buying and selling? Let me put it that way.
At this time.
Yeah, just like you have said, Nigerians are the most happiest people on the earth. And you know, Christmas is synonymous with joy, good tidings. So definitely, people still want to celebrate. Whether there is no money or there is money, they want to manage whatever they have. So this is the time people want to celebrate. Christmas is also synonymous with celebration. So people just want to find a way of celebrating, managing whatever resources they have. But then you discover that it still affects the financial means. People are not being paid salary and all that. So that also has impact on the market of goods. But then it's just the price. They will find a way around it. Like chicken now is one of the, poultry products.
It's a major feature.
It's a major feature during Christmas.
Yes.
Turkey, chicken, in the time of old layers, broilers, cockerel. I am also in the market, apart from what we produce, and you'll find out that the price is high up there. Then, when you ask us farmers and look at the cost of production, really, we are not getting it. The real term of it. Some farmers, I'm not a prophet of doom. Some farmers may not come back after the Christmas when they sell off their birds because of the cost of production this time around. So it is the reflection of what is happening generally. Right now, you find out that old layers, which some people like towards the eastern part, old layers is going for about 1,002 from the farm gate price. And on the market, I tried to do the surface so that we know, it's about 1,004 to 1,007 old layers. That was sold from the farm about this time last year, 950. And cocks, which some people call cockerel, but they are cocks, is now about 2004 to 2006. From the farm, about 2002, 2005, depending on the size. You know? Then we have the broilers. In fact, that one really amazed me. We were going to church recently on an evening on Tuesday, and we saw a malam selling broiler, and he said 5,000 for about 1.8 to 2 kg
Yeah,
broiler.
because I was wondering when you said 2006.
Yeah,
I know I bought
at
one
another
recently.
place I got it for 3,007. And you wonder how will people be able to afford this? But you see, Christmas is also synonymous with giving. Giving, because even Jesus Christ was given to us by God. So a lot of people will depend on those who have to give them. And I want to employ people to give.
All right, that's a good place to chip in a good word of advice for people who have. There's a time to remember those who don't have. Edmund Awaje, our correspondent in Port Harcourt, morning to you, and compliments of the season, like we say here in this part of the world. Tell us what the Christmas mood is like in Port Harcourt. How are people preparing? You just went to the markets. Give us an overview.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Mike. Well, in Port Harcourt here, the feeling of the people is just as we have in every other place. Like I remember growing up as kids then, Christmas, every child, every family look forward towards December 25. December 25 is one particular day people normally plan for because of the things that happen. And as kids then, we saw all the razzmatazz that are attached to celebrating Christmas. But the reverse seems to be the case right now as we have, because a lot of people are actually complaining out there. The issue of recession, the issue of no money in the society, the issue of not having all those things needed to actually celebrate Christmas. Aside from the fact that Christmas is supposed to be a moment of joy, a moment of happiness, a moment of sharing love and laughter, but people now feel that without this money needed, these things may not be well achieved. But then in spite of all of that, Port Harcourt residents say whether recession or whether no recession, they would celebrate Christmas since it comes once in a year. And it's their own feeling. They say they want to express happiness, to thank God for having kept them all through the year. It's not about the rice alone, but then the rice is a major factor. Because when you talk of rice, you must think of cooking stew. And the general complaint out there in the market is that the buyers are not even coming. In spite of the fact that the tomatoes are even quite cheap this time around, unlike what we used to have in the past. There were times when tomatoes were bought for 3,000, 3,500 for a small custard bucket. But now this time around, we have it at the price of 600 naira, 700 naira. Yet the market sellers, the tomato sellers are still complaining that people are not coming. Wow. It all boils down to the general fact that there is no money in the system. So it's a very difficult and tight situation for Nigerians, and people have been advised, or people have actually advised themselves to tighten their belt, to adjust themselves, to plan very well that if you cannot meet up with maybe rice and chicken, you could make do with other things that will actually make the Christmas worthwhile for you. But generally speaking, the feeling of the people is just that the Christmas is going to be low-key, coupled with the fact that we have so much cash jam in banks these days. As at yesterday, we went around the city, we saw lots of queues on ATMs. Wow. A lot of people are not able to access monies in the bank account. A lot of people are not able to even get that which they want. When you get to a bank today, as at yesterday, when you get to the bank, you want to withdraw 50,000 naira, the bank will tell you, we can only give you 10,000 naira, we can only give you 20,000 naira. We saw lots of complaining, lots of quarreling, lots of bitterness, anger. So now it now begin to bring to mind what will this Christmas be like. By 9 p.m. yesterday, by 10 p.m. yesterday, people were still clustering around ATM machines trying to get these monies out, all in anticipation of celebrating Christmas. But then the general feeling of the people is that it's going to be low-key, and whichever way they see it, they're going to celebrate it and thank God all the same.
All right, Edmond, apart from the tomatoes and ingredients and things like chicken and so on, how about the drinks? Because it's another very phenomenal item of demand during Christmas.
Yes, well, funny enough, those are actually the aspects where prices seems to still be normal. Okay. Prices are still normal, although because of the difficult situation, you find fewer people still going for drinks, going to buy things to this drink to celebrate. But the prices of drinks are still a bit normal, but because the feeling is that food is even far more important than drink, because you can make do without drink, but you must eat food. The price of drinks out there is still very minimal, it's still very normal, no increment in price, no increase in price of drinks. But then the markets are not just there, the market is not coming. But the general complaint is that people are not coming out to buy. And why? Because there's no money flow, no cash flow in circulation. Everything seems to be so tight.
All right, Edmond ABUJA, thank you so much for giving us an idea of what the mood is like in Port Harcourt as people prepare for Christmas. The impact of people not spending is what we'd like to find out from our financial analyst. When we come back from our break, we'll introduce him and get on with the discussion. But of course, at this point, we'll be going out on TVC
we'll go out on TVC Entertainment. But viewers there can continue the program on TVC Breakfast on TVC Nigeria. That's on Concert Channel 190 and DSTV Channel 418.
You can also continue to watch this Friday edition, pre-Christmas edition on GoTV 45 and ACTV 510. Stay with us.
Well, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're discussing the impact of the recession on preparation for Christmas across the country. And we have analysts in the studio, but certainly we've been talking with one of our correspondents in Port Harcourt, and besides that, we'll be linking up with other correspondents in parts of the country to give us a feel of what the people are doing and how they're doing it and what they are saying, what impact the recession is having on the preparation for Christmas. We have in the studio Taiwo Adeoye. He is the president of the Animal Science Association of Nigeria with us. And joining us right now is a financial analyst, Femi Ademola. It's good to have you join us right now.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, in economics, the concept of demand and supply is very pivotal to any economic indices, as the case may be. Now, we're heading towards Christmas. There are lots of activity. People wanting to buy this, people wanting to buy that, people are supplying this and supplying that. But how is it impacting on, how is that working alongside recession, if I have to put it that way? Because activities are going on, monies are exchanging hands. Are things, is it impacting positively on the recession, or the recession is having impact on demand and supply? So can you give us some assessment?
Thank you very much. I think you put it in very good perspective. We have demand and supply working together in any market that we have. What had happened is that because of this recession, which, I mean, like we've seen and we've heard from Edmund talking from Port Harcourt, is that there's no cash flow in there. So what has happened is that prices have gone up, but purchasing power hasn't gone up in that regard as well. So even if you spend the same amount of money that you spent last Christmas, you're buying fewer products. So the activity is still going on. People are still trying to buy a few things, but what you find out is that the value, I mean, in terms of value, we're not generating the same kind of sales that we will generate under normal circumstances. Even the issue of, I mean, you mentioned things about food being, costly. Some of them doubled in price, and even more than double. even drinks too. I mean, they actually increase in price, sort of. Because, I mean, I could say compared to last Christmas, there's almost 50% increase in price of drinks. If you want to buy a crate of, say, malt drinks or whatever now, you'll be spending about 3,000 naira to do it. Beforehand, it was slightly above 2,000. It's gone up in that regard as well. So even if you spend the same amount of money that you spent last Christmas, you're buying fewer products. So the activity is still going on. People are still trying to buy a few things, but what you find out is that the value, I mean, in terms of value, we're not generating the same kind of sales that we will generate under normal circumstances. Even the issue of, I mean, you mentioned times about food being, costly. Some of them double in price, and even more than double. Even drinks too. I mean, they actually increase in price, sort of. Because, I mean, I could say compared to last Christmas, there's almost 50% increase in price of drinks. If you want to buy a crate of, say, malt drinks or whatever now, you'll be spending about 3,000 naira to do it. Beforehand, it was slightly above 2,000 naira. So what we're talking about now is that for the same amount of money you have last year, you won't get the same amount of product that you have, if at all you're able to get it. And we must all remember again that cash flow have been very tight in this year, especially this year. Not only for the civil servant, but it is even worse in the private sector. And I mean, the fact is that a lot of private sectors are owing salaries too, even worse than the state government. Some of them pay lower than the minimum wage that the civil servants are getting. And
some even have to lay off staff.
Exactly, laying off staff.
To survive.
So I mean, the point about it is that the recession is really affecting businesses seriously because price has increased and there is no cash flow as we used to before.
I would really like to know the impact generally on the economy when people are not able to buy. Yeah. How that affects the economy. Okay, markets in Abuja, let's go there now. They're devoid of the usual busy business activities at this time of the year.
Now, traders complain of low sales while consumers say prices have skyrocketed and times are hard. Now, Lara Folayo has that report.
A marketplace in the Nigerian capital, Abuja. Many traders sit idle in their stalls waiting for customers. A chat with some of them reveals their frustration. They say sales this Christmas are poor compared with the experience last year.
It's not moving much like before. Market is generally low. So actually, if it's this time last year, we sell twice what we are selling now.
Last year better pass this one. If not to the true way they did. To complain with money. No money. Maybe you see the one where you meet now. He abused me myself and no answer. I just say make no verse.
The Christmas season is synonymous with chickens and turkeys, as many families will ordinarily slaughter these birds to feast with family and friends. But a visit to the chicken section of this market shows the cages filled with birds as they receive attention from very few buyers. This chicken seller looks gloomy as he waits patiently for customers that are not forthcoming.
Before, by now, the market would have been booming, but now people are complaining that there's no money in the town and the price of the chicken actually is even higher compared to other years.
A visit to the chicken slaughter section shows some activities, but those in this line of business say it should ordinarily be better. Some traders even admit to have cut down on prices of commodities in order to attract buyers, but this hasn't worked either.
For this one, we used to sell at 600, 700. Now they sell at 500, 400. No market, that's why we less like that. You see customer from our front, customer not there. How we go do now? Make we go table and make it do something for us now.
Those who have come shopping for Christmas say their purchasing power is limited, no thanks to the prevailing economic situation in the country.
We are not finding it easy like that for us to buy.
As bad as things are at the moment, if you put a bit more extra effort, perhaps maybe in the past I would come to the market and spend 30 minutes, but now if I spend 1 hour haggling and then going round, perhaps find a good bargain.
The traders blame the hike in prices to the prevailing exchange rate, which seems to be affecting all commodities. They appeal to government to help the situation. The buyers, on their part, seek better living conditions from the authorities to enable them afford basic needs like clothing and food this season and beyond. Lara Folayo, TVC News, Abuja.
It's very obvious that Nigerians cannot afford any frivolous buying anymore.
like they used to do before.
You heard, you know, that lady there, she ordinarily she would spend 30 minutes in the market, but she spends a lot more just because
Going
she has to
around.
handle, get the good,
Trying to
good
bargain here and
All right,
there.
let's bring in Femi Ademola. Let me still stay with you on this one. Now, when people are not able to buy, how does that further worsen the recession?
Measured economic activity,
Yes.
There are three ways. You measure in terms of production, you measure in terms of income, you measure in terms of expenses. Both, I mean, the three measures in Nigeria now, they are on the downhill. We are not producing enough. Again, no income, like we just spoke about. People are not getting salary, they're not getting paid. Even production is not happening, and even when you produce, there's no capacity to buy. Now, expenses is more about people buying, you know, and that kind of thing. So now we don't have any of them. And what that means is that we are still in recession. And because by the time we measure the activities for this quarter, this third quarter of the year now, which we expect that maybe that will have been a boost, probably leading us out of recession. The kind of thing we are seeing now is telling us that we are still neck deep inside it. Because by the time you measure it, both expenses and income, imagine, I mean, in states yesterday, we had some states, people demonstrating in those states 2 days ago, yesterday they were fighting, they went to picket the office of their Nigerian because they want to be paid. That's an Ondo state that supposedly is an oil-producing state that's supposed to have more money. Now imagine all other states that don't have that. So income isn't come from that side. Private sector guys are laying off staff, they are not paying salary, so they don't have the income, they don't have the expenses. So what it means to me is that we are still in recession and we're not going to get out of it in this quarter.
All right, we'll come to you. Taiwo, we'll come to you briefly, but let's bring in Lara Folai, our correspondent in ABUJA, in here. Lara, good morning. It's good to see you on this morning. Now, you were in the market. You met with the people. One thing when you were, when we're playing your report that caught our attention was that the price of a bucket of tomato that used to be about 700, the price is down and people are not still buying. Can you give us some explanation if you have, as you've listened to people and analysts there?
Okay, well, I think for tomatoes, the issue really is not about the price for the buyers. It's not about the price even for the sellers because they brought down the price. The thing there is that the sellers complain that the sales are not just there. Ordinarily, you would expect at this time of the year, when it's just like a few days to Christmas, that particular section of the market should be very lively with buyers wanting to purchase, you know, the commodity, you know, for the jollof rice, which is a popular delicacy at this time of the year. But the buyers were not just there. As I moved around the market yesterday, the different sections where Christmas, those who celebrate Christmas would ordinarily patronize, they were not just there. And the woman who sold to tomatoes, you know, she told me that this time last year that particular basket was sold for close to 1,000 naira. But that was because, of course, the buyers were eager to purchase that commodity. But those buyers are not there. They're simply not just coming to the market. So she decided that, okay, because, you know, she keep them to result into a waste. So she decided, you know, to bring down the prices, hoping that would attract, you know, the buyers. Of course, when you're not the only one who sells a particular commodity in the marketplace, you have to do something different, you know, to attract buyers. And so she decided to, you know, bring down the prices to attract the buyers, but the buyers simply refused to look her way. She said when they come there and they try to find out how much it is, despite the fact that she's brought down the price down by about close to 50%, they still want to price, you know, lower. And when she refuses to do that, you know, they leave. So she was just complaining that the market is, you know, not just the market isn't just lively. The buyers have refused.
All
to
right,
come to the market.
Lara,
They say, no, there's no money. The recession.
Lara, what can you tell us apart from tomatoes and all of that? What can you tell us about travelers? Are people traveling now for Christmas? And of course, you and I know when we were younger, one thing we, you know, had to look forward to was new clothes. Are people buying new clothes, or are they dry cleaning the old ones they have? Just give us an idea.
Okay, one of the stores I visited actually was that of somebody who sells, you know, shoes. I visited the store of somebody who sells shoes and somebody who sells clothes. And they weren't just seeing the buyers. The buyers were not just, you know, there. They actually complained that fine, things are not moving at this time. But the one thing that the buyers kept saying was that we identify with the pains of our buyers. We know the money is not just there. Even one of them was saying that if the government could do something about the state of the dollar, which has moved up the prices at which they sell shoes, for example. He says if something could be done about the dollar rate, and so that would affect the prices positively, they will come down and the buyers will be able to buy them. They said they identify with the buyers, they know things are expensive. That is why the buyers cannot afford those items to use for Christmas, and what they were saying was that we appeal to the authorities to do something about infrastructure. We want to be able to produce locally, and because I also mentioned the fact that, okay, if it's too expensive for you to import, why not look the ABA way? And they said, the Aba thing, about the Aba thing, the Nigerians don't want to use made in Aba things. There's this mentality about wanting to use imported things. It's the frenzy of at the moment, and that if government should do something about promoting more made in Nigeria goods, that would help the process. And even for those who sell clothes and other things, I actually caught up with a woman who had come to the market to buy Christmas clothes and shoes for her children. And she said she came with 30,000 naira, and unfortunately she had been moving around the market for hours and wasn't able to purchase enough. And she said she and her family members were going to manage what they used last year. And that was not what we experienced as children. Christmas seems to have lost its the soul or the for all, that came,
All right, Lara. All right, Lara, we're having connection issues there with distortion, but we'll come back to you shortly after this. Stay with us. Now we'll go on a break and we'll come back on the program. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.
All right, you're welcome back. It's TVC Breakfast this beautiful Friday morning. Our focus now is recession. How is it affecting Christmas celebration? Of course, Christmas is on Sunday. Our guest in the studio, ABUJA, President, Animal Science Association of Nigeria, and Femi Ademola is a financial analyst. This discussion will not have any meaning if we're not able to come up with alternatives to how we've always known Christmas to be. So if you can't travel, what is the alternative? If you can't buy chicken, what's the alternative? If you can't buy the ram, what's the alternative? I hope we'll be able to achieve that in the course of this discussion this morning. And I wonder what kind of memories children would have. You just heard Lara Folayon there in Abuja talking about a mother who went to the market with 30,000 naira and she's not able to buy much, so she has to fall back on what she had, old stuff. So what does that really say to you on a very serious note? What kind of alternatives are there for Nigerians at this time?
There are really alternatives. The major problem is that what the impression we all have for Christmas, those of us who have really enjoyed it, look towards that. I remember as a young growing boy, I have 2 clothes during December time, one for New Year, one for the Christmas time. And you would have bought your shoes and everything from Bata in those days. Keep them, you're happy. In fact, it is related to your performance because your parent tells you, I'm going to buy you better clothes, better shoes for Christmas if you pass your exams and all that. All those things are fast disappearing in the Nigerian culture. But then, we must also say that you mentioned a word. This is not the time to go for price. You have to cut your clothes, your coat, according to your clothes now. The alternative there is manage what you have, go for locally produced product. Like I said, the rice here now is as good. It's just the processing that we have lacking before in our product here. Then some of the things we can always do as well is those of us who are in the area where you can have little chicken, start to grow them by yourself before the Christmas time. Then the price will come down for you. Or the government as well needs to look at how they can empower the farmers. Majorly we are talking about food. And I said something initially that we are now going to get prepared for next planting season. What is the plan? How is government trying to help people? We have water, we have land, so what are we doing with it? the government need to look at that area to encourage more people to produce more food. And I keep saying in several fora that when you remove issue of food, then there's no poverty. That's what my people say here.
Yeah,
exactly.
So when you take off that aspect, then you find out that people are happy. And we need to have enough food for ourselves even before we think of exportation. So,
okay. All right, let's get back to Lara in Abuja. Lara, Abuja is one city that people travel from when festivities like this are coming up, Christmas or Salah, as the case may be. Give us a feel of people leaving now. We know that we're talking about commodities for Christmas, but how is the recession also affecting those who intend to travel, especially to, I know my Eastern brothers like to travel. It's part of the culture in there, but give us a feel.
Abuja at this time, it looks empty. I started noticing that from earlier this week. When you try to drive around the town in areas around the town, in areas where there's usually like heavy traffic, you don't find that. It means that quite a number of offices, particularly those in the private sector, have closed down business for the year. But in areas where I've been to, where people ordinarily popular parks around the commercial, around the Federal Capital Territory, where people usually travel from, I noticed that even I saw quite a number of the touts and those who call for passengers. I saw quite a number of them, screaming. You see them looking very tired and fagged out. What that indicates is that not very many people are traveling. It boils down to the fact that the money is simply not there. The recession thing. If you're traveling from Abuja, to your village, for example, or to other parts of the country where your loved ones are, you're going to be spending. You're going to be apart from the money you're going to be spending traveling out of the FCT. You're also going to be giving people money, and a lot of people don't have that kind of money. So many, from what I saw in the last few days, very many people are not leaving the FCT. They're not traveling down to see their loved ones. But I don't know. Maybe later today or tomorrow, some people like to do last-minute rush. Maybe we could see such human traffic, increasing out of the FCT. But for now, from what I've seen, people are not really, traveling out. Everybody keeps saying, there's no money, there's no money, there's no money. If I travel, which money will I give to my people out there? And on a lighter note, I think this MMM thing has also affected quite a number of people because
you had to talk about
a lot of people invested in MMM, proceeds to spend for Christmas. That dream, has been killed, and that probably explains why quite a number of people are not spending the way they should in the marketplace. And they say MMM had like 3 million, people who were involved in it, but 3 million Nigerians is not a small number of people in the country. And I think on a lighter note, that may have also affected the purchasing power of the people at this time, because quite a number of people who were involved in it were low-income earners and middle-income earners. So I think that has also cast a dark shadow.
All right, so
Lara.
And when I went to the market yesterday, Christmas time. Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Lara, for the updates there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, Femi Ademola, you are the financial analyst. Now, one word that seems not to be pertainable, if I could use that word, to the ordinary Nigerian is the word budget. When we say budget, we remember government, as if it's only government that should make a budget. Nigerians are not used to making a list before going to the market. So at a time like this, like they say, nobody needs to tell a blind man that it's raining. How, what kind of budget should Nigerians individually be looking at so that they can survive not only the Yuletide, but so they don't get into depression after recession? January is right around the corner and school fees have to be paid. So tell us how really we need to handle this.
I mean, generally, I think my colleague here has already said a lot of things about adjustment forward. what has happened is that even the adjustment is not only temporary, but even in long term. You mentioned things about rearing birds and stuff like that for the next Christmas and growing food. That's long term. But even as we speak at this Christmas, we need to start engaging ourselves in talk. You mentioned something about the memory the children will have about Christmas. The family needs to start engaging the children to let them understand the real implication of Christmas. It's not about destination Christmas that we are fond of doing. It's not about going on holiday and secluding and having fun with my nuclear family. It's about celebrating the birth of Jesus and sharing with the needy if you have. So instead of destination wedding, destination Christmas is more about feasting and getting some little people that you can go. And now feasting is not that it must be chicken and must be rice. It's just about food, and we are happy to be alive and to be able to feed. Now, it is important that we start planning outside of Christmas. But this Christmas is as good as here. So there's no need to split our head about it. Make do what you have and move on to the next. The reason when Lara was talking about somebody even bringing the price of tomato down and people are still not buying. And my colleague was telling me that it's not about tomato alone. It is what you're going to use tomato to do. You're going to put the fries, you're going to use it to cook.
He's not going to eat tomatoes.
Exactly.
Because tomato is not the food itself. It's just an ingredient.
You can't even store it for 2 months long anymore now because power is not so there yet. Therefore, it's perishable. So why should I buy it and then it gets wasted? And then, I don't know when I'm going to get the next income from. Or when or where it's going to come from. So let me save this one I have and buy only the important things. So our budgeting had to be that for now, let's focus on necessity. Luxury aside. Want to go on vacation? Yeah. You don't have to travel abroad again. You can try some local ones. There are some in Lagos even right here. If you must go to a secluded with family and have the children to have fun. There are so many parks and entertainment areas now locally. We must.
Do we really have parks and entertainment areas?
We have some places that are not too bad. There's one.
Mike, I don't know if you recall Apapa Amusement Park.
Yeah.
You had all those kinds of places, but I wonder if you have those
Apapa Amusement Park is back and doing very well. Lagos just renovated it and everything is doing so very well. We have some private one down the road here, High Impact, towards just opposite MFM.
Even
we have resort, you have the Negbe resort, you have, I mean, you can try so many things. The one about it is that we need to sit down and think about what we need to do locally. Now, I heard lately that the pharmaceutical company in Nigeria, they're not trying to look for local raw materials to make products. Some people are afraid. I said, look, we need to start it. Everybody go to India now to import. They import from India. Why? Because they started it. We need to industrialize. Now, the only thing we need is that our NAFDAC and SON have to get onto they have their job quarter for them. So we need to make sure that the standards are maintained and qualities are very good. She mentioned the thing about ABBA product. People don't want to buy it. Says who? Our tailors have improved. See what he was wearing. See what is made here locally. We need to change the way of dressing. Our SON need to ensure. I mean, for custom-made dresses, we dress well. We go to parties with our edges and they look very nice. Now, all we need to do is just move down into the standard product of shirts and skirts and blouses as well, and we can get it. At this moment now, budgeting now is more about who am I, what do I need, and now let's plan for what I need. If we have excess, then we'll do the luxurious things.
All right. Now, Taiwo, you talked earlier about the issue of sharing. We know that generally, usually during Christmas, people like to share. I cook food, I bring some for you, and so on. How more of that should we do now that recession is here?
Yeah, you may not be able to do as much as you used to, but you can still do something, at least to bring joy, happiness to the faces of those who are not able to afford it at this time. For me as a person, as a farmer, I know that I have to give up. An individual should do that too. As I said earlier, Christmas is synonymous with giving. So whatever you have, no matter how, it can never be enough, as we know. So whatever you have, giving part of it to the needy, to those who are not privileged to celebrate Christmas, will also go a long way. So whatever you have, you can share. Like he rightly said, this is the time to call down our budget. Don't forget that by the time we enter January now, which people always tag as the
longest
month. And we all know the meaning of the longest month. So you must be very careful as well. Call down all those excesses, frivolities, so that you can have, because when you said you use a word too, don't move from recession to depression. So that is most dangerous. When you are alive, there's still hope. So people should cut their expenses at this time.
And not cut their coat according to their size, but according to the cloth. So what are the fundamentals that need to change? Okay, I'm told we need to go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue this discussion on recession and Christmas. Okay, Christmas in a recession. That's our focus this morning on TVC Breakfast. Let's go to KANO now, where Ibrahim Issa, of course, is standing by. Now, some traders there in KANO in northwest Nigeria are worried about low patronage by buyers ahead of the impending Christmas celebrations.
They have linked it to the current economic situation of the country, just like we heard from Edmond and Lara earlier on. Our TVC News correspondent who went round various sections of the famous ABUJA market reports that the low turnout of buyers has robbed the market of its usual hustle and bustle.
It's few days to Christmas. Christian residents of KANO State, northwest Nigeria, are in various markets to purchase commodities. Unlike last year, the turnout at various markets was very low. The problem, according to some Christian residents, has to do with the increase in the prices of commodities in the markets.
Actually, when I came into the market, it's very unfortunate that what we were buying at the rate of 10,000, 50,000, the prices is just escalating. So it's very unfortunate that when I came in now, a trawler that I normally buy for a disc boy, 3,000, I was getting this 5,500, 6,000 naira.
I came to buy Christmas clothes for my people, and the price is inflating. It's very high. See, the way we bought last year is not like that this year. Things are very expensive.
This is the clothing section of the ABUJA market in KANO State. Shop owners here are not finding things funny. We met Polo sitting ideally and lonely. Polo and some traders we spoke to say they are badly hit by low patronage this Yuletide season due to the rising prices of clothes.
This time around, buyers are not much. You can see the line is empty. It's not like before. Unlike before, last year things are very by this time last year you cannot see road to stand like this, talk more of talking with you people because of customers. But you can see now everywhere is just scanty.
Prices of foodstuffs have also skyrocketed unlike last year in the same market. According to Muhammad Salisu, who sells grains, despite the increase, the patronage is not so bad. Poultry products section of the market is a beehive of activities, as buyers and sellers are deep in business. Compared to last year, prices of poultry products remain stable. Uniform and patronage is not bad, according to the traders. Buyers and sellers in KANO State are hopeful that the prices will eventually go down and the economic activities will be back in full swing. Ibrahim Issa, TVC News, KANO.
All right, Ibrahim Issa is standing by there in KANO to talk to us. Ibrahim Issa, good morning to you. Well, that's the ABUJA market where you just visited. I know that the Sabongeri market, a very popular market in KANO, is a hub when it comes to, buyers and sellers just doing their thing. I wonder if it's the same situation there and other markets you visited in KANO.
Yes, the situation is quite different compared to what the market used to be. This year, due to what the marketers have linked as a result of the economic recession, things are not easy as they have low patronage of buyers. The places, the market, most markets I visited are county, and if you could you've heard what Solomon was saying on the report, that he was in the market with his family, but he couldn't buy what he's supposed to have bought for his children. He has to go back home, get more money because of the hike in the hike in the prices of goods in the market. ABUJA market is one of the most populous markets where economic activity is always in a beehive nature, But last year was awesome, according to the marketers. But, this time around, the economic recession is making the marketers lament as a result.
All right. For the reasons why things are like that, certainly we've heard that over and over again. But we know that KANO is more of a Muslim city. But we know when activities like this, Christmas or Salah comes, certainly you have a lot of people in there. But let's talk about the availability of some of the commodities that is used for Christmas, like tomatoes and all of those. Are they available even before we talk about affordability?
Yes. We visited the poultry section of the ABUJA market, and on going there, poultry products are available. Even though they have few buyers there. What the poultry sellers are talking about is that economic recession has affected prices of goods and services in the country. Prices of chicken are not high. Despite the fact that the prices are not high, they have buyers, although the level of those coming to patronize them are appreciable. They say last year was more than this year.
Ibrahim is a correspondent there talking to us about the situation in KANO State in northern Nigeria as people prepare for Christmas. It seems to be the same situation whether you're talking about Abuja, Port Harcourt, or even KANO. Sellers bring down their prices, but there are just no buyers.
All right, we'll be going on break shortly, but let me ask Taiwo this. At least you have been there watching. From Lagos precisely, are people really traveling right now?
No.
Wow.
So many people we know that normally travel about this time to celebrate Christmas in their hometown villages. I think they are not going. Not just because of the cost of transportation, but there is no enough money to spend at home. So, and I think, like my colleagues here said the other time, wherever you celebrate your Christmas does not really matter. It's one of the lessons Nigerians need to learn as well in trying to curtail our excesses many times. And we go home in those days, really, everybody want to go and reunite. That is one of the purposes. Going home to reunite with your family, and that's the only time you go. But in a situation like this, you just have to do with what you have. So, and celebrating it here as well, you can look for parks, like he was mentioning. There is another park in Redemption Camp where you can take your children to, and it's close to what you have abroad. You have this car racing, you have the small swimming pool there, you have the boat ride and all that. So people can take advantage of that. I wouldn't know the price now, but I think it's affordable.
Okay, this is a time to be more creative.
Yeah, even right here in CBS, there's the fun. There's a fun fair. There are people, children have been coming from every part of Lagos, even from Ogun State. I remember before the closure of school about 2 weeks ago, schools were taking buses, bringing students all over the place. You come to the compound here, it's full with people, students. It's been fun all the way.
And I just, you know, when I look at those kids, I actually envy them, and I wish I was a kid again, just to enjoy the Christmas fair that CBS is. Of course, it's still ongoing.
It's still ongoing. It will be there until 26th
of December.
Which is nice.
Okay,
we go there sometimes to take chicken.
Yes, absolutely. Nice. We've been talking about alternatives and all of that, but let's even look at our general attitude towards Christmas.
But don't forget the break now.
Yes, we'll go on break now when we come back. Has Christmas been over-commercialized? We'll find out when we come back from this break. Stay with us.
All right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast. We are about rounding off this segment now. We've been talking about Christmas in recession and how is recession impacting on preparation for Christmas. Because you were asking a question earlier on.
Yes, indeed. Have we over-commercialized Christmas? That's just a simple question. And is that why we put ourselves under this pressure year in, year out?
Yeah, I think I'm going to say yes, we have. Because I remember that book by Charles Dickens, The Christmas Carol. Just Dickens' guy that wrote Oliver Twist.
Oliver Twist, yes.
Wrote on the book A Christmas Carol. Very fantastic thing. I mean, talking about the real import of Christmas, about some people who just use that opportunity to gather wealth as much as they can, rather than actually spreading the wealth if you have one. And that's why I said earlier that the real import of Christmas is to celebrate the birth of Jesus. And if anything, is more about feeding the poor, feasting to get the poor to eat. Yeah, we say we exchange gifts, no problem about that. But in fact, the gift giving is more to those that actually need those gifts. That's what pricing. Most of the time you buy a very expensive gift for somebody who just can't cast it down or give it to somebody else because it doesn't need you anyway. But when you give to the needy, and that's where feasting is more like some of them are there, they're hungry. When you create a kind of feast, hey, get together at my table and let us feast together, it makes just no perfect sense. But you know, we have turned it into something else. And that's why like a joke that somebody was showing me, I mean like a chat, like a husband and the wife talking, and the wife said, husband, I want iPhone 7 for Christmas. I was like, hey, chill out. It's Jesus Christmas. It's Jesus' birthday, not your own. So
it's Jesus' birthday.
Jesus' birthday. So that's the kind of thing. So it is more about, let's sit down. It's okay, with family. Might be the only one time you have the opportunity of coming together as family, child, discussing and everything. It's not about spending money, but just feasting together and remembering the memories and be happy, celebrate yourself and that kind of thing. So it should end that way. Anyway, we are forced to do it anyway. So I think it's
all right. It has become a culture one way or the other. We grew up demanding, looking forward to Christmas clothes and all of that, and it's become a culture. But let me ask it in true terms, if we have to look at the economic side of things, are there really strategies you are seeing that the government is putting in place going into 2017 that you think is going to prevent this further slide of things?
Seriously speaking, I can't say I've seen anything in that regard, because you see, this recession in the first instance was self-inflicted. It's okay to tell us that we have global impact and everything, but there are so many things we have left undone for so many years. Not this government, past government, but even this government is not doing anything to get it out of the mess for now. Now, I mean, there's chance that they can, I mean, even if you met the trouble, there's only some things you can do to get it. They don't seem to be understanding what needs to be done, and that's why we have the issue of the executive wants to do something, the national assembly saying no. Nigeria have huge infrastructure gap. We need to be covered. So there's no amount of money we can spend at this moment to fix the infrastructure gap that can lead to direct inflation as the way it is. But the obsession of the CBN with inflation and exchange rate is killing us. That's no problem. In fact, part of the reason we're in this recession was part of the thing that CBN caused. Unnecessary tightening, I mean, insisting that you're going to fight inflation that you don't have power over, is a problem. Because inflation in Nigeria is not because of money. It's not because we have too much money. It's actually because we don't have structure. As a small businessman, who are the engine room of growth, if they want to do any business, you have to provide everything. You are your government yourself. You provide your own factory, your road, your water, your power, your security. It is crazy. Now, government needs to provide all those ones. It is when we are in a developed level, when we are industrialized, when all those platforms are there, that can be using monetary policy to fight inflation. At this moment, if anything, we need to pump liquidity into the system to help those small businesses to generate production so that we are there. We're not doing it. CBN has failed us woefully in that regard. Again, they want to be independent. An independent monetary policy will not be doing exchange rate the way they are doing it. If you want to be flexible, you must, if you are independent and you are using free capital, because what we have in Nigeria is that you can bring your money in and out at any time, then you must allow the exchange to float. But if not, the way it is now, the CBN is partly independent, partly non-independent. You are watching the body language of the president, who is socialist tendency that I don't want my people to suffer. Therefore, don't let the exchange rate go. But we are suffering it already. In the black market, exchange rate is selling at almost 150% of the official market. It doesn't make any sense anywhere. So that one is there. The government itself, they know that they need to spend on infrastructure. The budget cannot take us there. Now, they need to borrow, but the National Assembly is not understanding because they themselves have not even explained themselves what they want to use the borrowing for. It has to be clear. We need this, we need US entered this, they're out of the recession so quickly because they spend them out. So, I mean, I'm saying that they've done the budget. If it is well implemented, we'll be happy. But we wouldn't know because 2016 budget has not been fully implemented. All
right, Taiwo, of course, I saw you agreeing with him on so many points he was making there, but you are a player in agriculture. You're a farmer yourself. Looking at the 2017 budget that hopes or promises to bring us growth and restoration, do you think that will happen? And more importantly, by this time next year, if our line of discussion will be different from what we're talking about today, recession and Christmas, what are the things that you would like to see very quickly before we...
If we look at the situation here, I've not seen government doing things differently. And you continue to do the same thing, you're bound to get the same result. I said something earlier that For instance, what is the preparation of the government to create enabling environment for farmers next year? A lot of things have happened this year. And if I have to take you through my own constituency, poultry farming, the cost of maize. And I said earlier that we have land, we have water, but the government policy did not allow and help the farmers to produce, in the sense that there was no fertilizer and all that. The resources, I've mentioned it time without number that government should just be an enabler, create conducive environment, infrastructure. For me now, the road, I just graded the road to the farm. I'm using generator all through. All this will impact on the cost of production. Except government create, if there is power, if there is good road to rural areas, they will be able to produce more food. They are talking about agriculture.
And food will automatically be a lot cheaper.
Agriculture.
Okay.
All right, let's get on now. Despite the scarcity of funds due to the recession experienced across the country by Nigerians, Abians in Abia State are adamant that the Christmas festivity or festival is worth celebrating.
And TVC News correspondent Nnamdi Ofonye went round town to get the pulse of the people and now reports.
Christmas, a celebration by Christians across the world to mark the birth of Jesus Christ, comes on the 25th of December every year. Christians see it as a period to show love and exchange gifts with family members and friends, as exemplified by the three wise men in the Bible. Based on this, people go all out to spend big during this period, buy not only food, but other items including wares. It is also a period when people in the villages expect their loved ones back home. This year, there's quite a lull, owing to the present economic recession biting the country. Those who used to reap bountifully during this period are now grumbling.
As of last year, I won't have time to be doing this now. I'll really be attending to customers now. It's very, very bad. On the 22nd, nothing is happening. People are not buying. Everywhere is just dry. Customers are really, really complaining. Nothing. The sales rate this year is very, very poor. There is no money. The recession is really affecting this thing.
Price is very, very costly. I don't know how we just thought that.
Like by this time last year,
I say one bag of rice 10,500 naira, but now 23,000 naira. Business they rush away with that time, but now nobody get money to buy these things.
Despite this, the people seem unperturbed as they are determined to celebrate the Christmas even if they cannot afford all the luxuries of previous years. Even the towns and villages are now witnessing a return of its indigents for the celebration, as evident in increased traffic in Umuahia, the state capital.
First, we thank God that we are alive, but economically, it has not been easy. But because we are alive, we have cause to glorify God. So the Christmas, we'll still celebrate it as long as we are alive. So we won't celebrate it like the way it usually used to be.
My son sent me money to come and buy rice. That's why you see me here. If it's my own, I don't think that I can be able to afford money for rice today because it's too expensive.
It's a month of joy, but with the recession in the country is making everybody to feel boring as if nothing is happening.
Despite of the resolve of Nigerians to mark the celebration, in spite of the hard times, many still believe that this year, the celebration will not have the pomp and celebration of previous years, all because of the recession. Nnamdi Ofonye, TVC News, Umuahia.
Okay. Right, it's quite interesting to hear from Umuahia there. We have Nnamdi standing by there. Nnamdi, good morning and compliments of the season. Now,
good morning.
Yeah, there's something very interesting in your report that you talked about. There's a lot of traffic there because people are traveling home. Give us a picture of how more people are coming home to Abia for the Christmas.
Yes, Umuahia being the state capital, before this Xmas period, doesn't seem to have this kind of inflow of vehicles that has eventually resulted into serious traffic gridlocks almost along all the streets in the capital. So people attributed it to the return of people from cities across the world and across the country, which is very, very practical with people who always come back home for the Christmas. And they say despite the recession, it did not stop them from what seemed to have eventually become the tradition for them.
Well, it looks like Ndibo are not ready to be affected by this recession.
Somehow.
But unfortunately, I will not be going home to Mbise anyway. You know, somebody actually said, well, instead of going home, maybe I should just send the money across and, you know, it will help people back home in the village. Are you seeing that actually happen at all? Whether you're talking about ABIA or Imo, Anambra, Enugu for that matter?
Yes, what I'm talking about is ABIA. I don't know other states like Anambra and Enugu and Imo. The people, they decide to do this on two grounds. One, they say that for the gift of life, for them to be able to withstand this recession in good health and then accept to experience another Xmas, it's worth celebrating. Then going further, they also take a look at the significance of Christmas, which is the birth of Jesus Christ. They believe that, according to them, they believe that there is a blessing, a special blessing that comes with it. So it's another area that they're looking at to make them go all out to celebrate the Xmas despite the recession.
All right, Namdi, thank you very much for talking to us right now. Thank you. We certainly have to wrap up this segment right now. We thank you, Taiwo, for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much.
We wish you well. We also thank you, Femi, for joining us on the program as well.
We wish you the very best of the Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Wish the same, man.
All right, you're welcome back. You're still watching TVC Breakfast, and we're looking at other issues this morning on the show, looking at the calls for a cabinet reshuffle. Is it inevitable or what? We'll find out. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has urged all members of his cabinet to work harder to earn the trust of Nigerians.
Yeah, he gave the charge at the Federal Executive Council meeting to mark the first full year of the ministers coming to office. The State House correspondent Maria Lashe spoke to some ministers on the journey so far in the last 12 months.
On November the 11th, 2015, 6 months into his administration, President Muhammadu Buhari swore in 36 new ministers to run the nation's ministries. He charged them then to immediately proceed to work.
I have also been conscious of the need not to repeat such mistakes of the past, where the right people were allocated the wrong portfolios, which translated into their kwafomu to our collective detriment, despite their obvious capabilities.
Some of the ministers who spoke to TVC News admitted that despite the fact that the challenges are still enormous, they are doggedly forging ahead. Ibe Kachuku, Minister of State for Petroleum, was in the eye of the storm during a period of prolonged severe fuel scarcity. He and other ministers believe there will be lights at the end of the tunnel.
There's still challenges ahead, challenges of foreign exchange, challenges of trying to get a refinery. If refineries do not work, we have not started. And whatever we're doing, we've set a timeline of 2018 drop in production by 60%, 2019 existing production completely. That is absolutely critical.
We are doing a lot in terms of planning to turn things around, but the results will take some time to come. In the meantime, we urge people to please be patient with us. We know that things are not easy, but the things we're doing are important and they need to be allowed time to take for fruit to be reaped.
Nobody here would deny the fact that the cost of living has gone up. Nobody would deny the fact that the transporters have increased the money for transportation. Nobody would deny the fact that food prices have also gone up. And so these are the things we take into account by that committee and make the appropriate recommendation in view of where also the country has found itself economically.
Nigerians also react to the ministers' performances in the last 1 year. They expect the ministers to stop the blame game and get to work. They call on President Buhari to reshuffle his cabinet should they fail. Maria Olashainde, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, we're now being joined by a lawyer, Jimmy ABIA. It's good to have you this morning.
My pleasure being here.
And a compliment of the season.
I wish you the same.
Okay. Now, in this report we played, we heard the president urging ministers to say, work hard to earn the confidence of Nigerians. Do you think that charge is being carried out by the ministers?
Well, you put that into perspective that these ministers have been in office for quite a while, about a year, since their appointment. And then if that charge is just coming, recently, within a few months, away from now, you would be wondering, what did they come to do? That charge was meant to have come, from the time they were, appointed into office. You expect that, they kick off and, try to make sure that the country is put on a good pedestal. But that being that as it may, don't forget that these persons who are in these offices, might also be facing certain challenges which they may not be telling the public because they are appointed by the appointing authority, and there might be some, problems. Of course, that's not to make excuses for them, but of course to put everything in perspective. For instance, let me give you an instance, the issue of release of funds. You have, areas where certain ministers might not have had the relevant funds, being released from, the relevant quarters. And if this is not done, so some of these ministers may not be able to carry out their objectives, certain things they want to do. And they may not come out to the public and say these things. Of course, if it were the senators, being a different arm of the government, the legislature, they could come out and say, this is our problem, and damn the consequences. But being appointees, these ministers may not be able to say this outrightly, to the public. But being that as it may, we also would have expected better from these ministers. When you look at certain areas, when you look at policy policy objectives, we expect a situation where some of these ministers would have come, out and say, this is what we want to achieve. At least Nigerians would have known that, okay, this is what we are expecting from this ministry. Then it's a different thing again if these things are not being achieved. But you don't find them having. The other time somebody was telling us about producing pencils, in Nigeria. We're talking about 21st century Nigeria, and you have a minister talking about production of pencils. So you see that the direction, they've not even charted a direction. Yes, we understand that they may be facing certain challenges that they're not telling us about. But if there is another thing, that could make someone perform if the person already has an objective. Okay, this is what I want to achieve.
So would you say then that may just be at the root of the problem or seeming lack of performance on the part of this cabinet so far in the last 1 year? You've not seen a clear-cut definition of goals and objectives that they have individually been able to set for themselves. But 1 year, is it really enough to score this people? Don't you think they would have needed some time to understand what their portfolios are in the first place, the runnings, what exactly is expected from their office and all of that?
Yeah, while 1 year is not enough, to fully give a pass mark or otherwise, to these officers and even to the government. But of course, there's something called continuous assessment, which you have even in schools. So you expect that you would have had a direction in 1 year. If you have a direction within that 1 year, it would actually affect other things. There will be a seeming, okay, this is where we're going to. In the last discussion, here on this panel, you had someone saying that there is no direction. There is no direction yet. And this is what we expect to see, at least in 1 year. We're not saying it must all be huru within 1 year, but we expected to have seen a direction within the first year. And then, so we know that, okay, by the second year, this is what we expect. By the third year, this is what we expect. And going forward, these are the things, we expect. But it doesn't seem that that is happening.
But if we have to put all the ministers on the same pedestal. Which of them do you think is seemingly impressing Nigerians?
You want me to
name names?
Let's go into it.
You put
if there are
in
on
a
the
tight
spot.
corner, on the spot. I think the Minister of Petroleum, has actually, and this is to be frank, has actually, done a lot. When you look at where we were, in terms of the fuel crisis, you remember the queues we had at the filling stations and all that. And then you also see how he has been able to also manage the labor issues, within the petroleum sector. And then the crisis that almost erupted, with the movement of the university, the maritime university. Yes, that is not strictly within his own ministry, because you're talking about maritime now. Yeah. But he was the one who went in, and tried to resolve this. When some other minister, the actions and statements of some other minister, almost heated up the entire area. So I would think that he has done, to an extent, creditably well. But of course, there is more, to be done, even in that sector. Of course, not him alone, but even the other arms of government, like when you are talking about the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill and all that, there is a lot more to be done in that sector. But I think he has done a bit well. Then you're also looking at the area of works. You have the Minister of Works, Housing and Power. I think in the area of works, a bit of work. We've seen a bit of work, in some areas, but not as much, as you would have given a pass mark, as much as you would have given. But we've seen we are looking at it from the perspective of other ministers now, not
in comparison.
In comparison, with other ministers, you would say that in terms of works, but in terms of power, or in terms of housing, we have not seen as much as we would have been expecting, in those areas.
Okay.
All right, we'll of course look at all of those. We'll find out in the course of our discussion. Of course, we've heard that as many as 10 ministries or ministers may be redeployed or dropped, and all of that. We'll find out how inevitable this move would be for the president. We'll take a short break and return shortly. Stay with us.
If you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we are discussing the call for cabinet reshuffle. Nigerians have been reacting to the performance of many of the ministers or the cabinet members in the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, they have their opinions. They are the real people, so whatever they say, it really counts. We have in the studio a lawyer, Jimmy Abia, and we've been talking about this. Now, from what you were laying down earlier on, it is obvious that Nigerians are not very, they're not going to pop champagne for any of the ministers so far. But is that a call? Is the call for cabinet reshuffle very, very justifiable right now?
Very, very, very justifiable. You look at it that the initial appointment, let's leave some room for the president, because when you look at it, the first appointments were based on, political patronage. Okay, this person, did a lot, during my election, so let's bring them on board. But I think going forward, now is the time for real work, because the time is short. So I expect the president to actually rejig the cabinet by reshuffling, moving certain people, removing certain people, moving certain people from one ministry to the other. I expect that this would actually bring, if it is handled well, because it's not just to reshuffle a cabinet, but also handling it well, bringing square pegs in square holes, round pegs in round holes. When you do that, you would find that in the next few months you will see things picking up. But if you do not handle it well, if you just reshuffle just for the sake of political patronage, and you bring, on board, same political class again, you're going to have the same thing. You're going to be running in circles.
All right, since you're talking about some of the changes you would like to see, there's some ministers who are overloaded, in the words of some people. Some have 3 powerful ministries. They're
no longer ministries.
And
three powerful assignments.
Yeah, 3 powerful assignments. Some have 2 heavy assignments and all of that. Do you expect to see some kind of unbundling, if I could use that word?
Yes.
So that those people can actually perform.
Exactly. Indeed. If I were given such responsibility, such huge responsibility, I would decline. The reason being that people would be marking you based on what the responsibilities you're given, even if these responsibilities are too enormous for you to handle. Now, what we have had in those ministries, where they were brought together and fused, is that you still have the same personnel costs. You still have the same cost, running costs for those ministries, because the fact that they were brought together doesn't mean that you've reduced costs. You have not reduced any cost. You are still running that cost, but you have reduced leadership, because now the responsibility of 3 persons or more in terms of leadership, you have put it on 1 person. So the leadership, which is the critical factor, is what you have ended up reducing, while not reducing the cost of running government. So I do not see much sense in it. What I expect is that some of these ministries would would be broken up, so that you have persons manning specific responsibility on which they can be assessed upon. Not a situation where you model up. Look, power is already a very big ministry, is already a very big sector, and being that we have a lot of issues in that area, then also we have a lot of infrastructural deficit. We have a serious deficit in terms of infrastructure. So works is also a very huge one. Then housing is also a very huge one. I would expect that going forward, these ministries, are kept separate. The way is kept separate, and then persons who are capable are brought in. Of course, the person who is manning the 3 now could be restricted to 1, so that we can assess him on that, and we can also see performance.
Let me take you up on that. BRF, for example, Babatunde Raji-Fashola, who is the Minister for Power, Works and Housing, he did something that seems to be quite ingenious, taking special advisors, his former Commissioner for Housing, Toyin Hamzat, and of course Faudo Oki, special advisors to help him man this other departments under him. Would that make any difference? Do you think that has made any difference for that ministry specifically?
The buck, to an extent, stops at the minister's table before getting to the president. So there are certain responsibilities, even by law, that the minister only can carry out. So those responsibilities will still have to get to the minister. And don't forget that this man still has only 24 hours, just like any of us. And you can imagine what it involves, having all these ministries, because at the end of the day, they would have to come back to the same man. So even if you have capable hands, manning this as special advisors, the buck will still stop at the table of the minister. And that's a huge responsibility. I expect to see cabinet ministers handling this responsibility, so that those roles that they are meant to play as ministers would be played by them without having too much of modeled up responsibilities.
All right, now we've had analysts who have said that you don't even blame the ministers in the first place. It is the president himself, because the point there is the president gives you the direction of what his agenda and aim and objective should be, and then the ministers fall in line. In that regard, how would you assess the direction from the president himself that should put the ministers in line?
Of course, I tried to lay emphasis on this. From my first statement, you'd expect that the direction, because the leadership should come from the president. So I think that there is a lot more, that needs to be done by the president, going forward. Because you look at, for instance, the finance ministry. You're looking at the economy. You're looking at the economy. The management of the economy would actually come from an economic team. Now, what sort of economic team have you brought on board? These are things that the minister alone cannot do. This is something that the president has to come out and say, look at the persons I want to work with in terms of rejigging this economy, bringing this economy back to life. Let me call a team and say, give them responsibility and say, this is what I want them to do. So to an extent, to a huge extent, the president has a lot of responsibility in that regard. But again, don't forget that a leader is also as good as his lieutenants. You understand? So the persons here appointed should also, to their own, because they have also been given responsibilities to within their own powers, within what is available, to them. We ought to be seeing something. For instance, what I would have expected from the finance ministry was some sort of direction, some sort of leadership in terms of the economy. You see a situation where the CBN seems, yes, the CBN is meant to be independent, no doubt about that, but it seems that there is no policy direction, for even the CBN to operate under. So the CBN, goes forth and back simply because there is no direction, from the finance ministry, coming from the finance ministry. And of course, this also, you also talk about the issue of, an economic team that understands.
And that economic team that you talk about is what a lot of analysts say is actually missing in this government. And that's why there's this trial and failure kind of policy direction that this government has been having. Now there are talks that the ministries will be dropped along geopolitical zones, and those to be picked will be done exactly the same way along geopolitical zones. Is this really what Nigeria needs, or people who really have the wherewithal, the expertise, and the know-how to actually hit the ground running, which was what Nigerians expected this cabinet that's in place right now to do in the first place?
Yes. Of course, the Constitution has made it clear that you must have ministers from all the states of the Federation. That's why you have about 36 or 37 ministers. Of course, Amina Mohammed for Environment has just left for a new assignment. Congratulations to her. Of course, you know that Kogi State doesn't have a minister.
Labor.
Minister of State for Labor and Employment. Has passed on, and then he's yet to be replaced. But I don't think that going forward it's simply a matter of dropping certain people by geopolitical zone. I expect the president to do an assessment of the performance of ministers, not a situation where you have, okay, I've dropped 2 from Southwest, so I'm going to drop 2 from Northwest, I'm going to drop 2 from Northeast, I'm going to drop 2 from Southeast. No, what I expect is a situation whereby you assess their performance. Certain people will have to be moved from one ministry to the other, and certain people would have to be dropped, not based on where they come from. Of course, you already have ministers from the entire states of the Federation, but based on what they are going to offer to the government and to the people of Nigeria.
All right, because when it comes to the issue of dropping and picking from the geopolitical zones, we know that there is competence everywhere. Everywhere in the country you find competence. But when you talk about dropping people from, we're going to balance the dropping so that everybody is affected one way or the other, Nigerians will certainly be thinking that instead of picking people to bolster or to enhance the economy and the strength, it is just politics. But let us even talk about the issue of communication. Is the government communicating with Nigerians, connecting with Nigerians the way it should be?
Of course not. Of course not. You have a situation where there's a lot of speculation out there as to what government is doing. So the communication it has not been as it should. government should have been able to come out and make its policy directives known to the people. But of course, the question you will be asking is whether these policy directives are even there. Because when you want to communicate, you communicate what is existing. You don't communicate what does not exist. So the question you will be asking is whether the first things that are meant to be done before the communication, have already been done. So yes, you say that there isn't enough communication. Nigerians aren't, their feedback isn't getting to the government, because one is the government communicating to you, telling you what they want to do, because that's what communication is all about. If not, it will be a monologue.
Exactly.
So there's a sense in which you're asking the question whether the feedback of Nigerians, look, that Nigerians are suffering and things are difficult, whether it is actually getting back to government. So those are the two angles of communication. So you have it that this thing is not being done effectively.
See, Nigeria is now in a recession. I mean, that's open knowledge. Yes, of course, we'll have to wrap right here. But the position of Minister of State at a time like this, how important, how relevant, is this position really?
Yes, that position was actually brought up, simply because we had the issue of the Constitution prescribing that all states, would have ministers, representation in the cabinet. So that position was actually developed, to take care of all of that. But I don't think that's a big issue. There was a time the ministers of state and the ministers were having issues, but there came also a time when there seemed to have been division of responsibilities, between the ministers and the ministers of state. So you see a semblance that you see a situation where in the Ministry of Education, you see a situation where in the Ministry of Education, the Minister of State for Education is handling secondary and primary education, while the Minister of Education is handling other things. So there is already a division of labor in that regard. So it's not a huge problem for us. The important thing is to have capable persons who are able to deliver on their responsibilities.
All right. Jimmy, Abia, thank you very much for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, this is where we come to the end of this week's edition of TVC Breakfast. It's just 2 days before Christmas. Ngozi's already flying the red color, which
yes, but that just only happened. I wasn't even thinking about Christmas when I put this on.
I know. All right. Have a great day ahead and Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yes.
I am Mike Okwache. You can follow me for updates across Nigeria, Africa, and the world using my Twitter handle at @MOkwacheTVC.
And just to remind you, don't put yourself under pressure. Just do it within your capabilities. Christmas, you will still enjoy it anyhow. I am Ngozi Alibu, wishing you the very best of the season at Ngozi Alibu. That is my Twitter handle. You can follow me there. On that note, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Stay blessed.
And I won't forget your pounded yam on Christmas.
Yes, and afang.